Commander Zethkar of the Galactic Council stared at the holographic display with 4 of his 6 eyes, while the remaining 2 tracked the nervous fidgeting of his aide. The mission parameters glowed ominously in crimson text, each line more damning than the last. "Sir," his aide chittered, mandibles clicking anxiously, "perhaps we should reconsider the classification level. Category Omega seems excessive." Zethkar's tentacles writhed in what other species had learned to recognize as deep contemplation. Excessive? We're asking someone to pilot a ship into the void nexus, survive the gravitational anomalies that have destroyed 17 previous expeditions, retrieve an artifact from a civilization that considers torture an art form, and return through a region of space where time itself moves backward. He paused, letting the weight of those words settle. If anything, Category Omega is generous. The mission had been posted on the Galactic Mercenary Exchange for 3 standard cycles. Every major species had reviewed it. The Krillians, masters of void navigation, had taken one look at the gravitational data and declared it creatively suicidal. The Zephyrians, who prided themselves on accepting any contract, had actually laughed, a sound like grinding metal that still echoed in the council chambers. Even the notoriously desperate Scarthul had passed, and they once accepted a mission to manually clean a black hole's event horizon. "Sir," the aide ventured again, "there is one application." Zethkar's attention snapped to full focus. "Impossible. Show me." The holographic display shifted, revealing a simple application form. The species designation made Zethkar's primary heart skip a beat. Human. "They can't be serious," he muttered, scrolling through the application. The human representative had filled out the basic information: ship name, lucky strike, crew complement, 4, estimated mission duration, however long it takes, plus snacks. But the legal acknowledgement section was incomplete. "Sir," the aide's voice cracked slightly, "they didn't read the fine print." Zethkar stared at the digital signature at the bottom. According to the timestamp, the entire 847-page contract had been reviewed and signed in approximately 4 minutes. Either humans possessed the fastest reading speed in known space, or they signed without reading any of it, Zethkar whispered in amazement. 3 days later, Captain Sarah Chen stood in the council chambers. Her 3 crewmates flanked behind her with the casual confidence that had made humans both legendary and infamous across the galaxy. She was tall even by human standards, with the kind of grin that made other species instinctively check their belongings. "Captain Chen," Zethkar began carefully, "we feel obligated to review certain details of the mission parameters." Sarah waved a dismissive hand. "Look, we already signed. Are we doing this or not? My engineer's betting we can shave 20% off your estimated travel time, and I've got money riding on that." Behind her, a stocky human with grease-stained fingers, the aforementioned engineer, nodded enthusiastically. "The gravitational anomalies are just applied physics. We've got some ideas." Zethkar felt a migraine developing in his tertiary brain. "Captain, the mortality rate for this mission is calculated at 97.3%. "So you're saying there's a chance," Sarah replied, her grin widening. "The Zelnari civilization practices ritualistic torture on anyone who disturbs their sacred sites. We've dealt with worse. My pilot here once sweet-talked her way out of a Rigelian pain maze." Sarah jerked a thumb toward a slight woman with pilot's marks tattooed around her eyes who simply shrugged. "The return journey requires navigation through temporal distortions that could trap you in causality loops." "Sounds trippy," commented the 4th crew member, a man who appeared to be simultaneously the youngest and oldest person Zethkar had ever seen. The commander's aide leaned over to whisper urgently, "Sir, perhaps we should explain about the—" He gestured at a particularly dense section of legal text. "The clause about dimensional phase variance?" Sarah perked up. "Oh, that sounds interesting. What's dimensional phase variance?" Zethkar closed all 6 eyes. "It means there's a possibility your ship could be scattered across 17 different realities simultaneously." "Cool. Do we get paid 17 times?" If you survive, which you won't because in addition to everything else, the artifact itself is cursed by entities that exist outside normal space-time. Sarah turned to her crew. Cursed alien artifact, guys, we're definitely doing this. The engineer cracked her knuckles. I'll pack the good tools. 6 months later, Zethkar was reviewing reports in his office when his aide burst through the door, all pretense of protocol abandoned. Sir, they're back. Zethkar looked up slowly from his paperwork. Who's back? The humans. The Lucky Strike just docked at Station 7. The commander's tentacles went rigid. That's impossible. Our long-range sensors detected the ship's destruction 4 months ago. About that, his aide said weakly. They want to file a complaint. An hour later, Captain Chen sat across from Zethkar's desk, looking remarkably intact for someone who should have been scattered across multiple dimensions. The cursed artifact, a crystalline structure that hummed with malevolent energy, sat casually in her lap like a pet. So here's the thing, Sarah began. Your fine print mentioned the dimensional phase variance, but it didn't say anything about the temporal displacement side effects. Zethkar stared at her. Temporal displacement side effects? Yeah, we got scattered across 17 realities like you said, but we also got duplicated across 17 timelines. Do you have any idea how confusing it is to coordinate with 16 other versions of yourself? Behind her, the engineer nodded. The paperwork alone was a nightmare, but the good news, Sarah continued cheerfully, is that we completed the mission in every single timeline. So technically, we're owed 17 payments. She slid a stack of invoices across the desk. Zethkar looked at the numbers and felt his remaining sanity slip away. How did you even survive the Zelnari? Sarah's grin returned. Turns out they'd never encountered anyone who actually enjoyed their torture methods, made them really uncomfortable. They basically paid us to leave. The artifact in her lap pulsed ominously, and Zethkar could swear he heard it whimpering. Oh, and about the curse, Sarah added, giving the crystal an affectionate pat. We figured out it just wanted someone to talk to. It's been alone for, like 3,000 years. Poor little guy. As Zethkar processed the payment authorizations, he made a mental note to add a new clause to all future contracts. Humans need not apply. But deep down, as he watched Sarah's crew swagger out of his office with their impossible success, he couldn't help but admit a grudging respect. After all, in a galaxy full of species that calculated every risk, sometimes you needed someone crazy enough to sign the contract first and figure out the details later, even if it did give everyone else chronic anxiety disorders.